Thank you so much for coming to the One Poem Festival here at the Notre Dame Center for Arts and Culture as part of Writers for Migrant Justice. Most of you know, but I'll just say at the beginning, this is one of many events happening around the country simultaneously. More than 45 events are happening tonight to raise money for immigrant families together. The initial goal set was $5,000. We've already passed $10,000. On the other side of this wall, Rebecca and PJ are manning 2 computers, and they're waving, they're smiling. And they're willing to help you donate money if you'd like. They'll also take cash. The GoFundMe page, it's important to send money to the GoFundMe page for this event because it's all tax deductible and which typically this institution tax. So, of the immigrant migrant families together. This initiative was started by Christopher Soto, Javier Zamora, and Dr. Gray. And tonight we're happy to have with us Francisco Aragon, Benjamin Balthazar, Delaney Beach, Pam Blair, Sebastian Bostwick, Alexander Fierros, David Lee, Olivia Hershberger, Teresa Konopelski, Rebecca Lehman, Shadi Lene, Audrey Lindemann, Joel McSweeney, Orlando Ricardo Menez, Brandon Minky, Shamara Moore, Misael Osorio Gonde, Valeria Vargas, Austin Melvin, and Nick Ward. And I would like to welcome straight onto the stage Francisco Aragon. Are you ready? Please. Everybody, Francisco Aragon. Francisco is the son of immigrants who journeyed to San Francisco from Nicaragua in the late 1950s. He, in turn, lived in Spain for 10 years in the 1990s before returning to his native California to pursue graduate work in creative writing. He will be reading a piece by the late Chicano poet, Francisco X. Alarcón.
Carta a América. Letter to America. Perdona la tardanza en escribirte. A nosotros nos dejaron pocas letras. Pardon the lag in writing you. We were left with few words. En tu casa nos tocó ser tapetes, a veces de pared, pero casi siempre estuvimos en el piso. In your home, we were cast as rugs, sometimes on walls, though we were almost always on the floor. También te servimos de mesa, de lámpara, de espejo, de juguete. Si algo te causamos, fue risa. We served you as a table, a lamp, a mirror, a toy. If anything, we made you laugh. En tu cocina nos hiciste otro sartén. In your kitchen, we became another frying pan. Todavía como sombra nos usas, nos temes, nos gritas, nos odias, nos tiras, nos lloras, nos niegas. Even now, as a shadow, you use us, you fear us, you yell at us, you hate us, you shoot us, you mourn us, you deny us. Y a pesar de todo, nosotros seguimos siendo nosotros. And despite everything, we continue being us. América, entiende de una vez. America, understand once and for all. Somos las entrañas de tu cuerpo. En la cara reflejamos tu futuro. We are the insides of your body. Our faces reflect your future.
Some quick information about Immigrant Families Together. Immigrant Families Together was founded in June 2018 in response to inhumane immigration policy separating families at the U.S.-Mexico border. They pay bonds for parents in detention and work to reunite them with their children. Additionally, they support over 100 reunited families as they recover from their detention trauma and adjust to life in the U.S., while their asylum cases are adjudicated. All of the IMT volunteers are working pro bono. Thus, all of your funds go directly to rapid response needs. Benjamin Balthazar teaches multi-ethnic literature and creative writing at IUSB. He would like to note that his mom's family fled anti-Semitic state violence in Eastern Europe, and it is because the racist immigration laws of 1924 had not yet been enacted that his grandparents and great-grandparents survived. Benjamin Balthazar.
Thank you. I'd like to note also that it's a real privilege to be with you today and thank you for organizing this. This poem is my grandfather. It's called A Boat in My Grandfather's Attic. Inside your attic, there is a boat that never arrived. What to say about this country? It saved your life, let others die, it only killed you a little. The boat inside your attic is dark. Its ribs curved like eyes of a village bride. Its language pulled up by the roots. Secrets exposed to air between city and sky. The wood dries and tightens in darkness. We think of a bright house, yard the color of fresh paper, of new unpayable bills. We think of the pale foil you wrap suits inside, and the Swedish vagabond you hired to stoop to walk until it too was the color of a bone. A for sale sign, like a sail on a stranded ship. The boat still steams in your attic, turned away from oceans with always receding shores. When did water mark the distance between man and man? Express lanes at supermarkets count their blessings one box at a time. Even the foreman who laughingly called you Jew boy signed a paycheck with real American dollars. The American flag in your window every summer, too, is a kind of sail where there is no wind to blow us back to another time. There is a boat in your attic, and you laugh because you think I like to say crazy things. There is a boat inside the earth and sky, one that we see on every horizon, never reaching its shore, its safe haven. There is a chest on the border without windows or doors, inside which the tired family couches. There is a boat inside our attic, its sail is a risk and timepiece. There is a boat with your cousin, still on the far shore, that one day will come. There is a boat you sail on which everyone who leaves waves and stays behind.
Delaney Beach. There you are. Delaney Beach is a creative writing and studio art double major at St. Mary's College. This is her senior year. She plans to go on to earn an MFA in creative writing at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Delaney. Woo!
Hi, I'm really happy to be here tonight. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote. It's called The Inertia of Ignorance. A small chaos creeps in, steals over the illusory world, which borders between us and them, though really only us. It slips through the bars of the cages, captain, carrying nothing, but carried on high by the lilting lullabies of its country's dwellers, swelling in the silence of the masses on our side, made violent by our mental torpor. Evil alone finds us silent in the dark. Inertia of ignorance, anthem echoes, "Don't blink, don't think twice," about flicking off the TV, crumpling up the paper, shoving aside alien thoughts of distant distress, and consider the screams, the dreams, of scattered kin, anything but human. We all know what it feels like to feel alien and alone, and we bear arms and boast barrel-chested about a country whose beginning, we forget, was built on the backs of strangers and slaves. Masking fear with blind bravado, we blame the blameless, lock ourselves up inside, and congratulate ourselves in conquering an illusion. Our state is one of torpor, tolerant of torture. While our figurehead points a finger at the other side, we gasp as the guilt is lifted, heavy, heaved at the innocent. We sigh in relief at how easy it is to hate without thought, to think without effort, to dream without imagination, to be without empathy. The unknowable knows what we're doing, watches from every angle as we erect iron bars around fragments of families, scatter senseless incentives, supporting the insensitive deception of denying our protection without advancing our own. We cage our empathy and gifted the key to a faceless, nameless bureaucracy.
Immigrant families together began with Annie Gonzalez, an immigrant mother from Guatemala, whose 3 children were taken by ICE agents and transported to New York. Yanni remained alone in a detention center in Arizona, unable to pay a $7,500 bond. A group of American mothers heard Yanni's story and quickly mobilized to raise bond money and then transport her safely state by state to New York. The group drove her by car because ICE had taken her ID, putting her up for the night at homes of 11 more volunteers. They also found shelter, food, and pro bono legal aid for her. Her 3 children were soon back in their mother's arms and eventually into her full custody. And then from out of that first project, Immigrant Families Together was born. Pam Blair, known as Poetic Melody when performing spoken word, is a born artist who didn't find her love for poetry until later in life. Poetry has become her life's journey and metaphoric pieces of expression. Pam is also the founder and host of the Poetry Den, held every 4th Sunday of the month, unless otherwise stated, at the Civil Rights Heritage Center, just across the street, in South Bend. Her motto is to IPNC, inspire, provoke, motivate, to create. Everybody, Pam Blair.
First, I want to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. This piece that I want to share, if you have heard the terms that said stay woke, this poem actually came from that, and actually I wrote it in my sleep and went back to sleep. So it's called Don't Wake Me. Don't wake me. I don't want to stay woke. Because being woke means I take accountability for the issues that lie before me. Don't wake me. I'd rather stay asleep. For when my eyes are closed, I have an excuse to live in false realities. Don't startle me out of my sleep. I want to sleepwalk and pretend I don't see poverty, bigotry. Sorry about that. Bigotry, a history of wrong thinking and inequality, and don't bother to set the alarm. It's my constitutional right to bear arms. Deny death tolls while gun laws refuse to be reformed. Hypnotize me and tell me things will be great again. Let's play childhood card games. I declare war. The best 2 out of 3 minutes. Sing me to sleep with my country, 'tis of thee. Tell me a bedtime story of the Statue of Liberty. Remind me of America's loyalty to immigrants and minorities. Please, Let me stay asleep. Ignorance is bliss. A privilege I never had is a privilege I'll never miss. Let me continue to dream until dreams become visions, and visions cause revolution, giving me a reason to wake up with coherence. Don't wake me.
It's so nice to see all of you. S.C. Bostwick is a non-binary trans poet born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. They are a second-year MFA candidate in poetry at Notre Dame. They are currently working on a poetic dreamscape centered around nature, trauma, addiction, gender, personhood, and of course, a mother's love. Yes. Sebastian Bostwick.
I'm so honored to be meeting amongst everyone. Thank you for being here. This one is part of what will be a kind of sonnets, kind of imagining my mom traveling back to the Philippines. It's called Somewhere Reborn, a Specific Sin. I'll cut my own gills if I have to, if I can breathe her in fluidic, her scent of viscous, neither salt nor glacier run, like mother, like salmon, flesh turned godly clean, tumultuous births and need to see, grant me temporary leave, the need in me she sings, decaying, underwater hymns, praised be, O Maguayan, O child mourning, if I could I would, her gills, if it meant belief, if it meant she loved me, if she could, would she anoint to me her silver, her precious stars? Oh, mighty God, other God of the sea, oh slain glitter, oh she who is gentle sweet, she who was born swimming, so let her.
Alexander Gallegos is the founder of the American Dream Project, a local nonprofit focused on minorities, especially first-generation students. She helps them achieve their dream careers through college mentorship. She's a third-year pre-med and English writing major at St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, and she writes in pursuit of migrant justice. There you are.
Under my nail beds, confined dirt, soil that's been cultivated, blood and dust and clay, what was sculpted, chiseled and determined, fuego. Brown clay, constructing bodies that burn in the day, the sun unyielding, that white man unforgiving. Under my nail beds, confined dirt, but in my mouth you'll find a native tongue twisting and turning, curling and spitting. The words of the Mailomo, acidic like dog's vomit, rises to our throats as foam. Suffocating, and we swallowed it. We fed from it at the frontera, we fed from it at the border, we fed from it in the field, we fed from it in the farm, we fed from it in the factories, we fed from it in the schools. Mailomo, jefe, Humanidueño, we fed from your hate and birthed the people despite. The fields of this nation tended by foreign hands, you say. Yet I ask, who owns the soul of a child, its mother or God? Now I ask, who owns this land, its inhabitant or its creator? You see, that white man forgets he's nothing more than the dirt under our nail beds. That means that I bet your guidance is my words. Thank you.
Next on the list was Krista Cox, our friend Krista Cox, but she's not feeling well, so she sends her regards. In that place, so if you go, I'm going to read the list of different places where concurrent events are happening. It's a little bit of a long list, so bear with me, but we'll get excited about it all happens, right? So, In New York City, hosted by the Poetry Project and Latinx Publishing. Chicago, Illinois. Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh? I don't know this country. Berkeley, California. Los Angeles, California, beyond the road. Washington, D.C., the American Poetry Museum. Tallahassee, Florida. Denver, Colorado. Phoenix, Arizona, by Pueblo Human Rights Movement, Transfer, Pueblo, Poder Action, Palabras de Legal Bookstore, and Revolution. Houston, Texas. Fresno, California, yeah. Fresno, Reed, Women Writers of Color, the Central Valley. Wilmington, North Carolina. Providence, Rhode Island. Buffalo, New York. San Rafael, California. Birmingham, Alabama. Salt Lake City, Utah. Columbus, Ohio. Tucson, Arizona. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. South Bend, Indiana. Here we are. Oklahoma. San Diego, California. Boston, Massachusetts. San Francisco, California. Springdale, Arizona. McAllen, Texas. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Lincoln, New... What's any? Orlando, Florida again. Bridgeport, Connecticut. Danbury, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. Asheville, North Carolina. Greensboro, North Carolina. Seattle, Washington. Baltimore, Maryland. San Antonio, Texas. Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Jacksonville, Florida. Memphis, Tennessee. Austin, Texas. And again, Miami, Florida. All of those are happening right now. All at the same time. All at the same time. And everyone's reading at the exact same time as David Don Lee, who is the author of 10 books of poetry, including Animalities and Orphan Indiana, as well as a forthcoming book of collages, Ashbury, erasure poems, and new original poems, Unlucky Animals. He writes and makes visual art and kayaks in northern Indiana, where he lives on the St. Joseph River. He's Associate Professor of English at Indiana University South Bend, David Don Lee.
I'm going to read a poem that's sort of, as a metaphor for the lack of tolerance and closed-mindedness. And really, it's about sort of conformity. That's how it began. Like a lot of them, right, they veer off into this sort of malignancy we're in. And I thought that aspect was intriguing. So this is a little bit, it's called Shit. It's a title. Here we are in this universe, on this planet, a species of biped with our only history with machinery and heat and shame. We could have loved it all, including the shit that comes out of us, reassignment of nutrients, decomposition into a small bodily shift, but we don't mostly. Unfortunately, sometimes we become adjacent to some other's other, and we retch. We see the innards of a rebel glistening on the pavement, the blue and red highways, the cloven tick-tock over them of flies. Some people destigmatize these individuals, turn our revulsion into obsession. It's a doorway into something unknown, scary, a portal otherwise clogged with the indigestible, a logjam beyond which lies disaster. Not corpses walking in lockstep with what we imagine, like dung mummies, but something like the fires of hell, unimaginable cruelties. In this way, our senses measure what's unhealthy, what's bad for humanity, if not so much necessarily the individual. We leave these deposits each day, tiny parts of us drop into water. That's perfectly okay, apparently. Or on bare earth. And that's horrifying, right there in the open, not wrapped inside a blue swirl of water, sent down through a tube, shunted into the underworld. Look at you, lying there, forlorn, the desiccation already beginning. Just wait until you hit 60. Like a boat rolled off the top of a dead Winnebago. Now rudderless and filthy with cobwebs and beetles. What do insects care anyway? They're all in survival and hunger. The fly landing on shit doesn't need a metaphysics. We do walk away unencumbered, lighter, obviously, our blood humming over the day's fresh possibilities. Adventure, free expression, and we are able to appreciate beauty, support one another. We do love sometimes, but God, we fear shit, vomit, no longer on its way to becoming you know what. and the corpse, container of personality, beliefs, emotions, sense of humor, no longer burdened by hunger and want or the ability to create. So what now? Will we smile in heaven, drink Pepsi, take walks, play golf, shit into a gold toilet? What about race? What about power? Will heaven be socialist? What will we fear? Who hate?
Olivia Hershberger. Olivia. Yeah. Olivia is an English writing and biology major at St. Mary's College. She interns at Unity Gardens, which is a non-profit organization that grows free-to-pick food for the South Bend Indian community. Olivia Hershberger.
The sun's rays pierced through the clouds like a soul who had started a day to do and free. The blades of grass had a warm aura, like the hair of an angel. The leaves mimicked the last orange summer days that the wind set them free and pushed the clouds away for the sun to be putting in grace. The meadow held more wisdom than Alabama. The high yellow burned the eyes of who all watched it rise and set as the sun was in its purest form, and no one had ever truly seen a soul. The deer discovered a new road of undergrowth under the camouflage of dust in a possible new friend or enemy, an instinct I lost long ago. Their fur was the color of worn chine, like the leaves glistening in the proud sunlight. Their stacks stood before me and questioned why I'd changed and how I'd never return again. A forceful old gust of wind ran up the hill, desperately trying to get a whiff of me, to get inside my head. It pushed away the clouds, hoping to give sight, and I blasted by an orange burst, an immense power. I shielded my eyes from the meadow, my roots. The wind and sun tried to push me away as I sat with my back turned to humanity. As this was a language I'd long forgotten, and I walked away, never to return.
Congrats. Yeah. Zesco Belsky is a senior program of liberal studies major. How are you? With a minor in Latino studies from Frederick, Maryland. Being of Peruvian descent, she works with Professor Francisco Aragon for his Letras Latinas literary organization, interviewing poets and authors.
Hi everyone, I would like to dedicate this poem to my aunt and my uncle who crossed the border many years ago and made life in America possible for my family. This poem is called American Air. When I sleep, I remember how I hid between the arms of his youthful body, their assured weight circling my trembling frame, breathing in hot dirt, facing the American sunset, which we agreed lacks pink tones of hospitality. We had angelic wings that used to flutter on the clotheslines. We used to say to each other, hermana, hermano, here is some water. If I veil myself in clouds, the dogs won't find us. Flashlights can't reach flare. The coyote can't take us. We fly off slowly in the dry lemon breeze against the strange hard wall of early embrace, floating strangers of the air on this ground where we wait. In this grave, I have escaped. Thank you.
Yeah. Is the author of the poetry collections Ringer and Between the Crackouts. Her poetry and nonfiction have been published in Tin House, Plowshares, Boston Review, Coppernickel, and other venues. She's an assistant professor in English at St. Mary's College. We're happy to have her now read a poem.
Thanks so much for having me. This is such a wonderful evening. And I'm loving all the poems that have been read so far. This is a poem that I wrote shortly after the inauguration of President Trump in 2017, but I think that it is still relevant to this event. Alternative facts. The sun is really a cactus. The cactus is really a rose. The rose is really a puddle. The puddle is really an ocean. That question is stupid. Sit down. Shut up. Your panic is really an unpoliced border. The border is dotted with cacti, catching the sun and the spiderwebs spun in their multi-hued flowers. We told you the flowers are red, white, and blue. They're ours. Don't touch them. The president is the least racist person there is. Come on, folks. Get happy. Ask him a nice, easy question. The president is the least anti-Semitic person there is. The sun is really the president's fat, baked head. It's best to get your news directly from the head. The sun spreads its hands across the ocean, knocking over delirious vessels. The First Lady is really a vessel. The First Lady is really a signal. The First Lady is really in prison. The First Lady is really an oligarch. The president is really a teenage boy. Get your hands off the president's wrought iron gate. We put up this fence to protect you. The president is the least misogynist person there is. You're going to have great relations, the best relations, the most consensual. The president's really a signal. The White House is really a palace. The white supremacist is really inside it. His booze nose is really a droopy dick. Don't look at it. This poem is really profane. The poet should learn to watch her mouth. Her mouth is really a razor, tracing along a fat vein. The vein is an unpoliced border. The president's really a coyote, pacing the desert at night. The night is really the people, waiting to be policed. The police serve the president's pleasure. The president's pleasure is tricky to measure. His pleasure is really a border. The border is really a baby bird's wing, caught in the blades of a fan.
Thank you. My pleasure to introduce Sade Lene, the lectern. Sade is a poet and artist from Houston, Texas. They are the author of Herta, Self-Portrait, Dream Machine, and I Love You and I'm Not Dead. They currently teach at Notre Dame and IUSD. Sade Lene.
This is a poem from my forthcoming collection, I Love You and I'm Not Dead. Ella and Nina brew ginger and echinacea tea. Ella Fitzgerald, Taurus, 1917 to 1996. Singer-songwriter, look out. Her papers are archived at the Smithsonian Institute. Nina Simone, Pisces, 1933 to 2003, musician, songwriter, activist. Her material record is preserved in the archives of the Eunice Wayman Nina Simone Memorial Project. White was a favorite taunt of my relatives and peers to judge my interests and the music I liked. The way I talk, my overexpression of feeling, whiteness became a method used to normalize all the experiences that filled me with dread and insecurity as a child, a means to criticize and shame me for being afraid, depressed, and anxious. The idea that to be white is simultaneously a ridiculous subjectivity and the only subjectivity worthy of safety, protection, and care. As a teenager, I fantasized about being white, being cloaked in the thin-skinned fragility that would make people care about my feelings, keep me from harm, and safeguard me from neglect, instead of meeting what all was happening to me with a piteous resignation or an offhanded, that's all. I guess I don't know how to separate white people from whiteness. I never heard my voice except to say, yes ma'am, no ma'am, Shrudam, Nusham, Rubian. She raised me as her slave. I tried to contain myself. I kept my eyes downcast, closed off, not staring, seething, sheathing my disgust. The phrase high functioning or intrinsically motivated than the word deprivation. How high can you go without the things you need? If you're climbing, do you stop to catch your breath or forge against what a breath is? Forget to breathe. I say things like I wasn't really allowed to be a person, and I say them so casually. What lives in my body as a scream sounds like small talk to white, well-fed people. Thank you.
Audrey Lindemann is a junior at Notre Dame. She wrote the pamphlet, I have compiled 14K love poems. Her poetry, satire, and fiction have been featured in a few online journals like Weymouth's Tea House, Ghost Parachute, Burning House Press, and Stride. She was a reader in River Styx Magazine's Hungry Young Poets reading series. And now, right here tonight, Audrey Lindemann.
Thank you, this was really special. This poem is called If Me and Dirtbags Should Hypothetically Snuff the Embers. If I could forget the smoke that's filling up the room for just a few minutes, the smoke of that fire, which is all I can think about, and if I could skulk my wheezing, vacuum-backed torso, surely enough that my legs were inclined to follow, and if together my torso and my legs sniffed out my spectacled head, inert and dusted under the sofa, and if fortunately my jaw were to unhinge, and for once a brothel of ferns didn't spill out from my teeth and into my hands, then maybe my tongue could shunt in some direction and my toes would comply. If so, if I were swallowed by the dramatic wind tunnel of the hallway, and if I could laboriously find something to lace my boots with in this inferno, like a snake or a family heirloom necklace, and if I then learned how to spaz like a dropped bomb, and I spazzed atomically enough, then perhaps, like a butterfly landing in an engine, I could exit. I could leave a trail of sputum across the brick threshold. I could break my knees falling down the stairs, and I could land in pieces under an extinguished streetlight. And if I were lucky, so lucky, that a whispered miracle dripped liquidly into my untrained ear, maybe the streetlight would relight itself. And standing there, like birds who can't fly, would be a pack of recognizable sad sacks who found themselves similarly charred, their faces glowing from the inferno that renders our stamping boots lame ducks. These sad sacks, dressed in friendly musk, they would take me in the street they'd been kneading into a shape for years. They'd take me and our street in their blistered arms, the two things they would almost certainly die for, and we'd disappear into each other as if down the fabulously cozy sewer.
We're really blazing through. So like the original goal set by Krista Cox and this event, this national live event, was to raise $5,000. And just check, it's $11,500. Freaking amazing. But also, like, if you haven't donated, please donate. If after this event calls somebody, tell them to donate. When they donate through the GoFundMe, and they leave a comment saying this is the South Bend event. That way, when everything comes in at the end, we're also represented in the final countdown. So tell people, South Bend event, send money, $5, $10, $20, $5 million, whatever they have. Joyelle McSweeney is the co-founder of Action Books and the author of 8 books of poetry, prose, drama, and essays. McSweeney's forthcoming poetry volume, Toxicon, is that right? Toxicon will be published by Night Other Books, like in the winter. Joyelle McSweeney.
having me with you tonight, and I'm so glad we're all together tonight with all the other leaders across the continent. Really exciting, and it feels powerful and good, so thank you for your words. I'm going to read a poem that kind of answers the one Pam read as well. It's called Sleep Mask, and it's got a similar problem that I was trying to look at. But let's see if my phone behaves for that. Oh, it's also about plastic bags. Here we go, Sleep Mask. Achilles' fate, the aches, the asps, a nut-sized gland that does not want to shine, the androgyne angel who rode the axe now lies in dust and contemplates the grass. What are the ants? That is a fool's picnic. Molecule projected from the hot gut of the galaxy in millisecond one now gathers bile, makes shape, and declines to exist. That request is declined. Inside the glove, the grasp. The eyes that move in concert or in camera. The concertina wire that rings the camps. The wall from space. The hot tanks of the internet. Its lariats and cranks. The rats that shit my doorframe and drag eggshells from the household waste and line them up like mad. So like. So threshold where this can pass for that, littered with rat shit and eggshells, and make a chain of thatness that stretches like an archipelago away. Certifiage, plague, après-moi, a treatment center for gout and Carter, a mustard plaster, a microscopic red organism sucked up in a cloud that imitates a shower of blood when it plummets back to earth, a likely plot. So likely. It collects in pots and pits and thickens, an alien vector, a slick of inclinations, and all of them down. Finger bone down the gullet, ball, bloom, shale, karst, eggshell, cartridge. On her commute by tube, one whisk loosened from the worker's knot, one comet at her wrist, a polyethylene grocery sack rides the current, swings on turns. It is so expensive not to have it in the world. It is so expensive to stop. Thank you.
Orlando Gonzalez is a professor of English at the University of Notre Dame. He is the author of 6 poetry collections, most recently Memoria, from Louisiana State University Press. Orlando.
Thank you for listening to this poem that I'm going to read. It is a new poem. The I in the poem is my personal line. It is a communal line. It is an imaginary. The title of the poem is Tower of Babel. Praise be to God for confounding our tongues and scattering us into exile like chaff in a stray wind, or the fig seeds dropped by a green iguaca on a hot moon. Confusion is sweetest chirimoya in a dry tongue. Hymns of disorder bring bountiful harvest in times of drought. And perhaps only cross-eyes can see in chaos, serene Gonzalez. I shout from the top of my Babel's tower, sown as a kapok tree. Blessed are the dialects, the patois, the argots, and the pidgins, the half-breed word boards and the Mongol grammars, the Gichis, the Galos, and the ghost words, those hallowed languages gone dead or worse extinct because of genocide and conquest or just time's erosion. Yet how we must mourn each one in our own heart's gleam. Then join hands by the sea of dawn to chant their names in flames of mahogany. Oh, so many to remember. El Molo, Mawa, Ashu, Cuerval, Varnish, Abus, Wichita, and the Taino of my own home, Kuwanakan, whose words limited past the cyclones of her sadness, like flotsam chromosomes or castaway fossils, of such beautiful amber as Barcoa, Anoa, and Amaka, Iwana, with these words that make machines of memory and flesh and marrow. With these words, I glide and cleave the tidal waves of history. With these words that take root in the quicksands of diaspora.
We're really lazy too, but when we do come to a conclusion, maybe you notice there's lemonade and candy and cookies, chips, crackers out front. So do stop and snack. But lemonade particularly, if anybody wants to know ways to further support immigrant families together in the future, go to the website. There are a lot of ways to do it. One of them, they have a whole packet, how to make like a lemonade stand for you and your kids, how to talk to your kids about migrant family justice, and then have your kids sell lemonade and raise money for other kids. Speaking of sweetness, Brandon Andy is a poet and PhD candidate in English literature at Yale University. He has earned an MFA from NYU and a BA from Washington University in St. Louis? What? His dissertation stands for visual aesthetics and queer intimacy in American literature and visual art in the 20th century. Brandon.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to read this exquisite company. Thanks to all of you for being here and supporting immigrant families together. My poem is entitled Hotel Asbestos, which was a real place in Mansville, New Jersey, where the St. John's Mansville asbestos factory workers lived. Hotel Asbestos. Shopping bags bloom like moon jellies. Our river, tide-ruled, drowned at the mouth, crawls through its concrete basin. Iroquois preserves the sound. On Dead Horse Bay, it scums the glitters. Namelessly, imprisoned children await liberation in the former Walmart detention center. From Brownfield to Brownsville, encaged. Vestal virgins for this season's death cult, they join our nation's grim parade. Orphans, numberless, stretching past the supermax, hawk nests of silicosis, on to the breaking circuits of Cherokee Death March and Second Middle Passage. Heavy as spermaceti or crude oil, white supremacy roils the Gulf Stream waters, while PCBs displace mystic ships from New England harbors, ghost nets, taxidermic with the dead of 3 centuries, trawl our hidden depths. No-nonsense androgynes gather roses at the prison door and chant their hymns to the 6th extinction at the suffocating sea. Guns, money, and the Holy Ghost won't save us. Can anything, when the bellwether leads to the abattoir and its screaming hypocrisies, let's lodge our privileges into the gear teeth of power, stop them from grinding us all to pulp. Refuse, America, the skeptical school speaks through my blood, crystal facets spelling out their truths, grave and refractory. As heptachlor and our fatty tissues contrives such diabolic weather, a legacy of misfires and the cerebral cortex, electric storms raking through the trees of our neural national preserve. But this is no dream. Acetone dissolves the lady's white head, and in Hotel Asbestos, the workers' lungs crowd of clouds. In Hotel Asbestos, a tumor ripens where a baby should be, while we queers and we degenerates burn and blaze to ignite the fire next time.
Shamara Moore is an English PhD candidate and instructor of film and writing. Her work is forthcoming in image text, transition, and meridians. The floor is yours, Shamara Moore.
First of all, shout out to our amazing MC, because this is a marathon. So the book I'm about to read is called Heritage Curious, as inspired by the poet Fareed Mateen, and thinking about what it means to hold our heritages with curiosity. Heritage Curious. Learning about my heritage is carrying water in a punctured bucket. I fill my mind with facts about my culture, but like liquid, they slip through. One hole for records lost, one hole for trauma, one hole for records never kept, one hole for colorism, and one gaping hole for anti-blackness. But the water's richness nourishes the soil beneath my feet, adding leafy green to dry black dirt so long without attention. Great-grandma Graciela traveled from Guadalajara to Alabama, all by herself with her younger siblings in tow. She changed her name to Lucille and married Owen Jackson. There's more to this story, but you know as much as I do. Because that whole part of my family don't fuck with us anymore. They lost touch and moved to California to pass for white. Because folks would rather be anything than black. An uncle on my dad's side was raised a mescalero, then kicked off the reservation by breaking tribal law and marrying a black woman. The politics of claiming gets murky so quickly. So I hold these histories with curiosity, but never too firm a grip. Afro-Latina, Negrita, Mescalero, Apache, Chicago nigga, South Side, Chi-Town, and never shy back. I know exactly what I am, because claiming family is always some shit. Where we come from is always some shit. How we got here is always some shit. Hell, just living here is always some shit. Immigrant, illegal, slave, mayape, nigga, janizado, Indian. Our blood bears the traces of our pain, but also of our joy, of our love, of our resilience. So I choose curiosity over bitterness, and I claim the black ass family who raised me.
Life for this poet started at 17. He knows this sounds absurd, but begs the reader to consider how crossing the Sonoran Desert at the dead of night could be a sort of rebirth. In his previous life, besides having evaded death at least once, accidentally, he also evaded construction as a way to earn his living. Too late he recognized, though, that this too could be an art form. So in short, crosser of deserts, free citizen of Shadowland, and dreamer of a world without labels and numbers to put in them, Misael Osorio.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. This poem is a response to the backlash Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez faced when she dared to characterize detention centers as detention centers He was not sure I tell you, or else words will get redundant. We wore no shoes and therefore no shame. We wore empty whiskey bottles or recycled impulse bags whenever we could find them, sprouting from billowing grass. To hide from the sandstorms and the cold nights of winter cold, in the limbo of our depressed lives. And whether you feel soft and billows by your current American privilege, whether you feel to feel a privilege, you have also better situated to burn, like iceberg on Sunday's prayer. You better go puking in the eyes the calls of announcing justice at the mention of white collectors. These days, justice wears a black as a blindfold. What else could she be wearing? A t-shirt made in Salvador? What else could she not? I really don't care, do you? The justice might be drunk. Who could have believed she would forget the barefoot children with machetes and shotguns invading its borders? Who could have believed justice is our historic blackout? Justice is still alive doesn't even make you Spain. But if you want to indulge in dialogue that calls for excuses and gymnastic tricks, you better learn to read, and you better read your skin out loud. Thank you.
And thank you. As before, we're going to come to our last few poets. So before we do that, don't forget to go back. If you haven't yet donated, to see Rebecca there, PJ there, to donate money to the GoFundMe page. They'll help you. I also want to say a quick thank you to Francisco Aragon, who put all the work into organizing this with from the Institute of Latino Studies. Another day created writing department headed by Johannes Göransson, who's not here, but Johannes. And thank you to St. Mary's and the ISD. Thank you to PJ Lombardo and Amanda Alvarado who are helping, and Rebecca, and thank you to Jennifer Ortega. Where is Jennifer? Where is she? Where's she at? She disappeared, and her daughter Anna, because they helped organize all these things. Kara Herring, Celine Marcos, Eva Hornigout, are you here too? I don't know who it is. And Myra, thank you everybody for putting this together. It was a big effort, and it's amazing. And And Olivia Hershberger, who is a second-generation Venezuelan American poet, born and raised in the Magic City, Miami. Is it really called that? Oh, yeah. Where she is also taught creative writing. She is interested in the healing traditions of women and breaking the rules.
Writing is to brace us and this is what we do. It's almost meditatively we breathe and we breathe and release. We have been poetry for all our lives. Bright and furrowed and intense. The pit in the stomach is swelling, the doubt goes up like a balloon. A photograph here and truth. Like a cage around the room. We are ourselves closed, but inspiring to set free.
Austin Bellman. Austin Bellman is a secretary. That's Valerie. Austin Bellman is an artist in South Bend. He is editor-in-chief of Twickenham Notes, an online literary magazine, and is is currently teaching a poetry class at IUSB. His poetry has appeared in such places as Atlanta Review, Bateau, and elsewhere. Austin Feldman, welcome to the mic.
Before I begin, I just want to say there's so much rage and just bad energy going on in our country. It's so energizing to be part of something positive physically. So thank you. This is called Another Resistance Poem. The squawks took me out of my ruminations. The culprit, a hawk perched atop the light pole. She was too far from my pitiful eyes. She counted the buttons on my shirt with ease, her downy chest ruffled with wind. When I came closer, she ripped off a piece of meat, a warning. Who could have known that rejection works, the enemy of the people? The sun had long risen. My walk cooled under the bashful moon by an insistent 6-mile-per-hour breeze, not strong enough to kick up sand into the eyes. The president tells 4 American citizens with brown skin to go back where they came from. Once, a dust devil rose like a ghost of the tornado of 2014, the one that never touched down into our memories like secret trauma, but just sat in the air, suspended like a vulture in a thermal. Children with brown skin detained for weeks by ICE, bad hombres. The retention pond smells like a bog. Frogs jump in the water when I stand close, oily film swirling like convection. Behind me, the starlings that nested in a Prius door cry to be fed, but mother croaks at me to get back to work. All this outrage, and I'm just standing here. God bless America.
Okay, so before we end, I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming. Thank you so much for being part of something that's like all over the country at the exact same time. So like it's huge, guys. So thank you so much. And after please feel free to have some lemonade, have some cookies, have some candy, but talk to each other, mingle in the gallery, the costumes gallery here at the Notre Center for Arts and Culture. We've also reinstalled selections from an ILS exhibit from 2015 called The Human Landscape of Migration. Please feel free to go there and mingle and welcome our last poet to the stage, Nick Wart, who is the winner of the 2017 Bolson Poetry Award. His work has appeared in Philosophical Idiot, Tweaking of Notes, Saw Cartel, and Back Patio Press, as well as others. Nick Wart.
Thank you. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to be here. This poem is called Men in Uniform. It's sort of a poem, I guess, to deal with class anxiety and being thrust into situations outside your control. It's a holiday for hanging, he said. 12:08 a.m. on my birthday. My mother is on the line. I do not know if she can pay the heating bill, but she wants to send me money for my birthday. It's been so long, but she hasn't been the same since they came, delivering toys and she couldn't afford to eat, and she was first alone. And my father just emailed me today, 12:08 a.m., to wish me luck in life. The firefighter handed me a toy, a fire truck, how cliche, and said, you know, we don't normally deliver things like this to the suburbs. She smiled back as the wind blew past those perfectly still creases in the brown, yellow, beige of his uniform and said, sometimes people just fall on hard times, because it's easier than explaining what really happened. And I did not understand, and I was just a kid, and I did not know what my dad did, and I'm unsure if I can pay my heating bill this month, and I would appreciate the money even though that's selfish. And I know that makes me less of a person, and I do not like men in uniform. I remember the way the class plastic fire engine red felt underneath my pudgy fingers, oily, cheap, as I placed it in a box destined for a trailer park in Indiana.
Drinks lemonade. Thank you so much for coming. I have extra fun.
Good night.